In today's video, we're going over my Great Guardian New World leveling build. It's not a fully kitted out level 60 build yet, but it's everything you guys need to know through leveling in the game in terms of attributes, weapon skill mastery, armor, all that good stuff for a life staff and great axe combo, which is a sick combo, by the way. In groups, you can heal all your friends and actually contribute to the damage yourself. And in solo, you have heals for absolute days and you have enough damage to take on any PvE situation in single target versus like big bosses or AoE damage, because the great axe is great at both of those. Jumping straight into the attributes, as you guys can see, we're currently level 34, close to 35 on this account. It's actually my girlfriend's account, but I'll give you guys a projection as to where we're going as we get closer to level 60 with our attributes here. As you can see, currently we have 74 strength, 100 focus, and 50 constitution. Now, the ratio will definitely change as we're leveling. I'll start with constitution because it's the easiest. I'm currently level 50 on my actual account, and I still have 50 points in constitution, at least ballpark from points spent and my armor bonuses. I think that's a good amount. Maybe it might go up a little bit as I'm getting closer to 60 and doing those endgame raids, but at least from level 1 through 50 constitution is plenty enough for me. It is personal preference, though. If you want some more survivability, buff this a little bit more. Currently, the ratio between strength and focus is a little bit odd. Currently, we have all of our armor bonuses that I could at least put into strength. It's essentially because my girlfriend plays solo and group at different times. So if you guys are solo, you want to have some strength so you can take out the enemies by yourself and not have to depend on anybody else. That's why currently all her armor has strength bonuses, and if she's playing with a group doing raids and just wants to be the healer, she can take off all of her strength armor and chuck on focus spec armor, which is a great way to do it. That way you don't have to respec all of your attributes and waste a bunch of gold doing that, whether you're in a raid or not. You can just kind of switch out your armor. Focus, I'm probably going to spend at least 2 points in focus per 1 point in strength as I'm leveling, if not 3 in focus to 1 strength, and just kind of leave constitution as we're going up, because there are some really good bonuses. Like 20% extra healing output at the next checkpoint is a really good bonuses as we're leveling up focus, which are really helpful for those raids and just keeping everyone from dying pretty much. Now, one huge thing to note for this weapon combo, an amber gem is absolutely amazing and a lifesaver when it comes to dealing damage with this build. As you guys likely know, healers don't do a bunch of damage because they're putting a bunch of their attributes in focus, which is only scaling life stuff. There's no weapon that scales off of that. But if you guys get yourself a blue axe, for early on it's not going to matter because you probably won't have gem slots, but from around about 25 to 30 and higher, you'll pick up weapons that have empty gem slots. Get yourself an amber gem of whatever tier. You can make it yourself or you can just buy it. Mine was like 20 gold today. It converts 30% of your damage into nature damage. Damage scales of base weapon stat or focus, whichever is higher. So we're going to have a heap of focus attribute points, which especially later on, because we're going to be speccing mostly into those from here on out. And that's going to increase the damage of the great axe, which only usually scales of strength and is very helpful. I would highly recommend chucking that gem in there as quickly as possible because it is huge when it comes to damage. As you guys can see, we're currently at the light armor spec. That is because we, one, get the dodge roll, which is very helpful, but also you get 20% damage and healing boost by having the light armor spec. That'll probably change around 40 to 50 range. We're going to need the more survivability in the medium spec, but it is only a 10% damage bonus and a 10% healing bonus in the medium spec. But if you guys want the survivability earlier on, that would be the ones I'd recommend. I would probably never go heavy personally. It is personal preference, but those would be the ones I would recommend. Now, jewelry is not a huge deal in the early game. Particularly, it is mostly used for the bonus attribute points if you can get it. Lit, if not, don't stress about it unless you're into jewel crafting. It's mostly just showing off that my girlfriend's RNG is beyond cracked. She got both of these from one Amaran run, which has bonus focus and bonus strength. So if you can get that kind of stats on your jewelry, it's going to be very helpful for your damage and or survivability and heals. The Soul Warden's ring is a perfect one. It comes from the main story that has bonus focus on it. That is a great option just to wear until you make something better. As for the weapon skill trees, the life staff is at 17, almost maxed out. We're going for Sacred Ground, which is the circle on the ground that heals all allies, which is really nice. Orb of Protection is one shot that heals enemies, but also provides Fortify for 20 seconds, which is a decent amount of time. Fortify is just damage reduction, if you didn't know. It also does 146 weapon damage to enemies, which is a decent amount for life staff standards. The beacon is essentially a traveling version of Sacred Ground. You can either shoot an enemy or you can shoot an ally, and it sticks to them and it has a circle around them, healing them or allies as well. as they're running around. So if you hit your ally, probably your tank if you're in a raid, it keeps them alive regardless if they're dodging attacks, and friends can just stick on them essentially. If you're in a raid and it's against a boss, you can tag the boss and it'll have a ring around them, and as everybody is just surrounded around them, they're constantly getting heals, which is very, very nice. I'm not going to go through all of these individual specs, but I'll show you guys the ones that are definitely necessary, at least in my opinion, and the extra 3 points once we get those, where I'll chuck them. The first one is Absolved. Lifestaff's light and heavy attacks no longer take mana is really, really useful. You don't want to be running out of mana, because once you run out of mana, you can't use anything. So definitely spec that one. You also get cooldowns by a few different ways. When you hit light attack, reduce your cooldowns by 5%. Very helpful. And when you heal an ally that has less than 50%, your cooldowns are reduced by 10%. That happens pretty often, at least in our group, so that is quite useful as well. Bend Light is also really helpful. After a dodge, your heals are 20% more effective for 5 seconds. I don't know about you guys, but I'm dodging pretty regularly in this game, so that 20% bonus is up very often. We also pick up the Capstone Divine Blessing. When you heal an ally, if they're below 50% health, you get 30% bonus heals, which is really nice as well, because that's very, very common, at least in our group. We got 3 points left once we level up our life stuff a little bit extra. I'm going to be going a Radiance Blessing for Beacon, an extra 5% longer lasting. We just want heals up as long as possible, and getting heals back as quickly as possible is the idea. Glowing Focus also buffs you grant last 20% longer. Again, just longer heals. And then the final one will be Shared Protection. If you successfully heal an ally with Orb of Protection, you gain Fortify and Recovery. So you don't necessarily have to shoot yourself with this. If you hit an ally, you'll be getting the Fortify and Recovery bonus yourself. As for Great Axe, currently level 13 on this account. I'll show you guys the projection at the end, because I'm currently mastered it on my other account. But for leveling, we've got a Reap for sure, Execute, and we also have Gravity Well. These three are my favorite combo by far. Reap, once you have all of these three abilities, you bring enemies in from 8 meters away, you do a spin attack at the end, and you also heal yourself for 30% of your damage dealt in that whole attack, which is really good for dealing damage, but also healing yourself in AoE situations or single target. Execute, I'm pretty sure, is the single highest damage number, like per one attack you can hit with any of the weapons. At least I'm pretty sure. It's not recommended for PvP because it's like a full 1 second animation to actually hit it, and most people can dodge that. But in PvE situations, it's really, really good. 200% weapon damage, or 300% if the enemy is below 50% at below 50% health at that time. You definitely want to add grit to it, even in PvE situations, because if you get hit in that whole 1 second animation, you'll get knocked and you'll have to wait for the entire cooldown. If you want to try PvP, get rid of Execute, and I'd recommend Charge instead. It's really good for chasing after enemies or getting the heck away from enemies as quickly as possible. Other than that, though, we are going Gravity Well. This thing is fantastic. It isn't Purple Tree, but it's really, really good. You chuck it down in an area, and it brings enemies in close. So you can pretty much just get a whole bunch of AoE damage going on them, and eventually it will explode doing damage. Once you spec both of these two abilities, you'll have Fortify for yourself as well as allies in the area of Gravity Well, but also per one enemy in the vortex, when it explodes, it deals bonus 10% damage, which is really good for a lot of the AoE farms, just in raids. But if you're farming AoE spots, that is fantastic ability to have. Other essentials you want to have is Enduring Strike. You add grit to any of the Great Axe heavy attacks. Also grants you 20% damage reduction when the grit is active. That is fantastic. If you just have a huge area and you just constantly want to swing heavy attacks, you're taking less damage, and also they can't knock you. It doesn't matter how many times they hit you, you're just swinging like crazy and they can't stop you. Now I'm going to show on screen a screenshot of my account with the actual full level 20 mastery Great Axe. All of those abilities, I would recommend you guys could check them out for yourselves, but I'll go through the full explanation once we hit level 60 with this account. And that is the Great Guardian leveling build. I hope you guys found the video helpful. If you did, don't forget to smash subscribe and the like button on the way out. If you guys want to check us out on Twitch, it's linked in the description. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Catch you guys in the next one. Adios.